Welcome to Kansas Ag Report. I'm Ken Rogers. We're still social distancing in this time of the coronavirus and COVID-19. Our special guest today will be Kansas Farm Bureau President and Montgomery County farmer, Rich Feltz. We'll talk about what the state's largest farm organization is doing to try to bring some clarity to Kansas farmers and ranchers, and also talk about what's coming from the federal government and how some of those assistance dollars could come to agriculture. We'll also have features from the Kansas Soybean Commission as well as Kansas Department of Agriculture, and our weekly updates from the Kansas Livestock Association and Paragon Ag Advisors.
Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Kansas Farm Bureau, a grassroots ag organization representing the state's farm and ranch families since 1919, kfb.org. And the Kansas Wheat Commission, lending in the adoption of profitable innovations from wheat, online at kswheat.com.
Well, in ag news, new analysis shows U.S. farmers and ranchers are continuing to reduce per unit greenhouse gas emissions. Data from the Environmental Protection Agency and USDA shows that the agriculture sector accounts for less than 10% of total U.S. emissions. The EPA's U.S. inventory of greenhouse gas emission provides a first look at the 2018 U.S. emissions data incorporated into a new market intel report from the American Farm Bureau. This report finds that per unit methane emissions from livestock has declined since 1990 as livestock producers have increased productivity. Now, during the past 30 years, U.S. milk production has increased by 71%, and per unit emissions of milk have declined by almost 25%. Beef production increased about 50%, while per unit emissions have fallen nearly 8%. Meanwhile, American farmers are producing more crops on fewer acres. This analysis builds on data shared during the launch of Farmers for a Sustainable Future, which is a coalition of agriculture groups aimed at educating lawmakers and finding solutions to the challenges that are being posed by climate change. Well, a very important link to the American food supply chain is restaurants. And they're looking at new temporary ways of doing business to just stay afloat. Traditional grocers are struggling to keep up with increased demand that are being brought on by the COVID-19. Restaurants are turning to grocery sales to make their ends meet. It's a trend that's catching all over the country as large chains as well as mom and pop establishments are looking for new income. Folks like Panera, well, they launched Panera Grocery. That only sells their traditional Panera restaurant items, but also things like milk, eggs, and fresh produce in their 2,100 stores that normally you use to make meals. Sarah Burnett's the Vice President of Wellness and Food Policy at Panera. She says the decision to sell groceries is a reaction to the unprecedented crisis that the country is going through right now. Subway, as well, selling groceries at some of its stores, primarily in 5 states, California, Connecticut, Oregon, Tennessee, and Washington State. The National Restaurant Association says the industry has lost 3 million jobs and $25 billion in sales since the 1st of March. Spokesperson says 3% of restaurants are permanently closed. Another 11% will do so by the end of this month. And a study released recently estimates that the cattle industry losses as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic will reach $13.6 billion. This study, commissioned by NCBA and conducted by a team of industry leader agricultural economists led by Darrell Peel, who is a professor of agribusiness and extension livestock marketing specialist at Oklahoma State University. He did that, and they did that to assist USDA in determining how to best allocate CARES Act relief funds to cattle producers. The study shows that cow-calf producers will see the largest impact, with COVID-19 related losses totaling an estimated $3.7 billion, or $111.91 a head for each mature breeding animal in the U.S. Now, without offsetting the relief payments, those losses could increase to $135.24 a mature breeding animal, an additional impact totaling $4.45 billion in the coming years. Stockers and backgrounders losses were estimated at $159.98 a head. That's a total economic impact of $2.5 billion this year. Feeding sector losses estimated at $3 billion or $205.96 a head. K-State's Glenn Tonzer, by the way, also participated in that analysis. More ag news online at agview.net. We'll be right back.
Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by the Kansas Livestock Association, supporting members' business interests and meeting consumer demands. KLA.org. Oldie Seed Farms, carrying soil-specific seed. Buy them on the web at oldieseed.com. That's OHLDE seed.com. And Kansas Corn, building the future at kansascorn.com.
Premier Farm and Home has what you need to make your lawn the best in the neighborhood.
Hi, I'm Ken. We choose Premier Farm and Home for the professional look that we do ourselves.
Feel free to stop in. You can also visit our website at heycow.com.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, cleaner American fuel. Message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
And joining us this week is Rich Feltz, who is a Montgomery County farmer and president of the Kansas Farm Bureau. Morning, Rich.
Good morning, Ken. Good to be with you.
Well, we appreciate you taking time to do this, but we say, actually with what's going on the last few weeks, you and I both normally spend a lot of time on the road, but we're actually having to do things a little bit different. But this time of the year as well, though, you spend a lot of time on the farm with the spring. And so we wanted to kind of talk with you and kind of get what you're hearing and some of the things that the Kansas Farm Bureau is doing to help your members and really Kansas farmers and ranchers try to navigate through really this unprecedented time we're working through.
Well, you're exactly right. People right now, I think they're coming from the position of concern, and then there's a tremendous amount of frustration out there. They're looking for answers anywhere, and whether they're visiting with you or I or who else, they want an immediate answer to an unanswerable question. We know that this COVID-19 has really disrupted our society like probably none of us have ever experienced, for sure. But what we can do then as an organization is try to assure people that a lot of things are being done behind the scene that they don't see. And with our organization specifically, our members are frustrated. They're on their level. There's not a whole lot that they can do on the big scheme of things. But working through an organization like ours and many of our commodity groups, they can have an impact with those that are the decision makers. So behind the scenes, that's one thing that's happening. One initiative, though, that we've taken on is helping with hunger. Realizing this goes on, our local food pantries are going to need a lot of assistance to try to address some food needs of those people that have become more distressed, lost jobs, and those type of things. That, and then here again, just trying to keep the lines of communications open and assurance that we are working for them.
It is quite a task. I just want to talk again just a little bit. Kansas Farm Bureau, along with some of the local financial service agents, the foundation, all working together. And this is something that's not going just anywhere. I mean, this is going directly back to those counties and to those local community food banks.
You're exactly right, Ken. And the initiative here is something needs to happen. And for some time, we've tried to address how on the service side and our federation side, we could work together to address some of these food issues. As bad as this situation is, perfect opportunity for us to work together to get our service people, our county, and our state to work together on this endeavor.
We're talking with Rich Feltz, who is a Montgomery County farmer and president of the Kansas Farm Bureau. We'll take a break, and there's more coming up in just a moment.
The Kansas Ag Report brought to you in part by Kansas Grain Sorghum, growers working together. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org. Grass and Grain, online or in the mail, keeping Kansas farmers informed for over 60 years. grassandgrain.com. And agview.net, serving the Beef Belt and Western Corn Belt with reliable and relevant agriculture information. agview.net.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
And our guest this week is Rich Feltz, the president of the Kansas Farm Bureau. And Rich, as we look, what was going on the state side, but also nationally, the CARES Act, still trying to get that figured out. We understand a lot of folks have received a stimulus check, but agriculture, at least as we're talking right now, trying to get some things figured out, how to bring some relief and what exactly agriculture and farmers and ranchers can qualify to help get them some assistance.
Yes, Ken, and one that we're hearing the most conversation about is the payroll protection program. And as much money as there is in that program, we're hearing that by the end of the week, the requests could already outreach the amount of funds that are available. So a great program for those that have employees. And we're also hearing that there are some opportunities for self-employed to participate, and they just need to talk to their lender to see how that might work out.
Rich, the other thing, on top of all this, what we've seen in the protein markets, especially in the cattle market, where we've seen almost the bottom drop out on cash cattle prices, but we continue to hear reports and see reports of near record numbers of the cutout, the boxed beef. USDA many ag groups have requested the secretary look into. It looks like they're now going to look into this situation. Rich, we've been trying to look at this for over a year with the fire down at Holcomb. You add this to it, and there's angst, anger, frustration in the countryside when it comes to, especially to the cattle trade.
Well, you're exactly right, Ken. And I think to start off with, it's a little frustrating to think that, it's been 6 months since we had that fire, and I was in a meeting and a USDA official spoke, and this was within a week after that, and he said we're going to aggressively look into that. 6 months later, we're still looking. Now we're going to take this circumstance and tie that to that. I think we can all agree, though, that there's been a tremendous market disruption here, though, and I'm not trying to defend the action of the packers and the pricing there by any means, but we look at the overall price perspective and how there's been such a disruption in the marketing, the pricing, the demand that we see when we've lost, for all practical purposes, a big market for our high-end cuts. When we talk about the hotel and restaurant trade, we've increased the demand at the local grocery store for our more staple hamburger type products. So a tremendous amount of disruption all the way around in that industry, but not only there, but in all the other commodities as well.
Rich, before we let you go, as we said, we're working through this. We're learning more, but agriculture still has to go on, and so you probably see somewhere light at the end of the tunnel, or still a sense of optimism to help feed a hungry world.
Well, you're exactly right. And I think one thing that I see is coming out of this is we've got people that have never experienced a disruption in their food supply. Granted, it's just been a distribution issue this time, but I think people in general, though, are more accustomed to, or becoming more accustomed to the fact that, hey, my food is pretty critical to my livelihood, and maybe we need to pay more attention to that food supply from the farmer to the fork.
All right, Rich, we sure appreciate the time to visit with us, and we'll talk with you down the road. And again, best of luck to our great farmers and ranchers. So thanks.
Well, thank you very much, and wish everyone well as we work through this situation.
Rich Phelps, president of the Kansas Farm Bureau, has been our special guest. Stay with us. We'll have more coming up.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population. The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Imagine that you're walking down the aisles of your grocery store. There's edamame and tofu, tempeh, and vegetable oil. These are soy foods, and they're just a few of the many. The Kansas Soybean Commission celebrates National Soy Foods Month each April by encouraging consumers to explore soy foods and their health benefits. Soy foods can help weight management, improve bone health, and lower the risk of both heart disease and breast cancer. These benefits and more are outlined in the Commission-sponsored Soy Foods Guide, which is available online at kansassoybeans.org/soyfoods. You can also discover a variety of delicious, nutritious soy recipes on our website. Overall, soy is a versatile, protein-packed food ingredient with functional and nutritional properties that enhance finished foods in all consumer categories. It's often added to fortified products like pastas and cereals. Soy Foods Month is also a great time to remember that animal agriculture is the largest processor of soybeans, specifically soybean meal. That's why the Soybean Checkoff funds research to improve both soy foods and soybean meal, supports programs in animal agriculture, and encourages consumers to choose a balanced diet. Happy Soy Foods Month.
Kansans have a new choice for Medicare supplement insurance plans. With Medicare supplement insurance plans from Kansas Farm Bureau, you have access to 4 levels of coverage, affordable rates, and service from an organization that's served Kansans for more than 100 years. For more information on Kansas Farm Bureau Medicare supplement plans, including rates and to apply, visit kfbhealthplans.com.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
continues to face new challenges daily as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, thousands of Kansans who work in a wide variety of roles within agriculture are continuing their efforts to serve the needs of the state. Yes, agriculture is an essential function, and we're still in business, but it's certainly not business as usual. Here at the Kansas Department of Agriculture, while the office doors are closed to the public, we are still working from home to support the agriculture stakeholders and licensees who are focused on their continuity of business. Kansas is fifth in the nation in value of ag production, so we know the state and the nation are relying upon Kansas farmers, ranchers, and agribusinesses for the food, fuel, and fiber they produce. The cattle must be fed, the grain must be milled, and the food must be processed and packaged and delivered to your grocery store. So that work continues, and everyone in Kansas agriculture is re-examining everything they do to increase online capabilities, limit human-to-human interaction, and enhance their already robust biosecurity efforts so they can produce what we all need while protecting their families, their employees, and their partners in the food supply chain. Throughout it all, KDA will still be here to help and support Kansas agriculture. We have a special page on our website dedicated to COVID-19 response, with ag-related industry guidance, state and national ag resources, updated news about the state response, and contact information to reach staff in all of the KDA divisions and programs. Go to agriculture.ks.gov/coronavirus, or just click on the link on our homepage. Our focus remains on the continuity of the food supply chain, public health and safety, and the protection of animal health and welfare. And our gratitude remains directed at all of you out there who are serving the needs of the state right now in so many ways. Be safe.
What if U.S. soybean meal were more than a commodity? If seed companies and the soybean checkoff built a better variety? That future is here. The time is now. To meet end-user demands, the soybean checkoff is investing in the compositional quality of soybeans, including meal. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
U.S. Ag Secretary Sonny Perdue recently announced that the agency would be expanding its investigation into the cattle markets. This announcement came after NCBA President Marty Smith sent a letter to President Donald Trump requesting the government act quickly to investigate the striking disparity between boxed beef prices and cattle prices in the futures and cash markets. He specifically asked President Trump to direct USDA to expand the ongoing investigation into market activity after the Holcomb fire last August to include the current market volatility taking place in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic. Smith stated the request was made in the hope of identifying whether inappropriate influence occurred in the markets and to provide the industry with recommendations on how it can update cattle markets to ensure they are equipped to function within today's market realities. Additionally, Smith asked that the Commodity Futures Trading Commission study the influence of speculators on live and feeder cattle futures contracts to determine whether these contracts remain a useful risk management tool for cattle producers. KLA President Harry Mosier had previously sent a similar letter to USDA Undersecretary Greg Ibaugh requesting an investigation to determine if any violations of the Packers and Stockyards Act occurred following the first diagnosis of coronavirus in the U.S. January 21st.
Many seed companies claim to offer the latest genetics, but how many have tested those genetics in soils just like yours? The Oldie Seed Know to Grow research program has fully tested the latest seed genetics in soils that are right in your neighborhood. The Oldie Seed Know to Grow program can recommend the best performing hybrids from technologies like Enlist, Extend, and Liberty Link that will optimize the yield and profit of every acre on your farm. Contact Oldie Seed today.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, cleaner American fuel. Message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com.
Good morning. Zach Cotot here with Paragon Ag, a division of Keiko Isom. Another week of more corona has come and gone, and it's continuing to take no prisoners in the commodity markets. The dairy industry and livestock sector are taking the brunt of it. With schools and restaurants closed, the consumer demand is now pivoting to the grocery space. This change in buying happened almost with the flip of a switch, causing a supply chain bottleneck. I don't need to tell you this, but if you've been to a grocery store over the last 30 days, it's evident that the demand is there, as shelf stockers can't keep up. You would think with this type of buying that the cattle and hog markets would be racing to the upside, but in reality, we're seeing the opposite. It makes the guy scratch his head. What's going on is we are seeing packing plants either shutting down production completely or slowing down the chain speeds in order to maintain the proper social distance, both with the goal to slow the spread of COVID. So, at the end of the day, we're not killing the same number of head that we normally see. The demand for the finished product is clearly there. We have this glut of live animals on the supply side, but we have this disconnect between the two, as processing isn't keeping the pace it should. With everything going on, this goes to show, not only in the livestock, but in grains and other commodities, that the market doesn't care what your cost per acre or cost of gain is. It will act irrational long after you or I are solvent. Over the last 5 years, and especially the last 12 months, being proactive in your marketing has put you in a better spot, so you don't have to react when the market backs you into a corner. It's not too late to have that conversation. Even when everything looks the darkest, dawn may be around the corner. If you have questions or would like an idea or two for 2020, give us a call here at Paragon Ag Advisors at 888-452-8751. I'm Zach Cotot. Have a great day.
Well, that's our show this week. You can be social with us on the correct distance online at kansasagreport.net or on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ken Rogers. Wash your hands, look out for your neighbor, and be kind to those you come in contact with. We'll get through this together. We'll see you next time here on the Kansas Ag Report.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. Over the years, sorghum has been either exported, used in animal feed domestically, or for other industrial uses. Recently, its use in the ethanol market has seen tremendous growth, with 30% of domestic sorghum typically going to ethanol production. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
Premier Farm and Home has what you need to make your lawn the best in the neighborhood.
Hi, I'm Ken. We choose Premier Farm and Home for the professional look that we do ourselves.
Feel free to stop in. You can also visit our website at heycow.com.